I've just failed a lot longer than most people. I've taken, deadly risks, more deadly risks than most people, right? Why the hell would you stop while you're in the fire? You got to keep going to make it on the other side of the fire. Just having that strong faith within self and not stopping when you fail. Like if you never quit, you can't fail. When people talk down upon having jobs, I think completely different, because you can monetize that job and literally build a book of business and have a cash flowing business if you really do it right. And you can also learn a lot of skill sets at your job via sales, right? Via finance, because all these things are needed in business regardless, right? We're very powerful creatures, and I feel like oftentimes we limit ourselves. And when you believe that much in yourself, you're actually going to have a lot more haters and doubters that's telling you no and you can't do something, you know? So I knew I belonged in those rooms before I got into that room.
All right, guys, welcome back to another podcast with Shaq in Progress. I've got a friend of mine named Timo. Is it Timo or Timo?
You know what's funny is that I was born in Germany.
Okay.
So they wanted to name me after my uncle Timothy, but it's an American name, so they couldn't name me Timothy. So they went with Timo, and that's the correct pronunciation in German. But since I've been living in the States, it's Timo.
Okay. Naturally, I come with Timo, just rolls off. So which one do you prefer?
Timo just sounds more natural and normal because for 30 some years.
That's true. All right. Timo. I have to train myself because I've been saying Timo for the last few days. Timo. Sweet. What little I know about Timo, but it's actually a lot to digest. But you actually change people's lives, in my opinion. People struggle to start their businesses, and you not only give them a leg up, you give them like 15 legs up to do really well, right? Which is really neat. But before we dive into what you do now, I always bring everybody on and kind of we go rewind and start a little bit in the past and see how you got to this point, right? I met Timo I didn't even get to meet you at the event, but he was speaking with Sharktino and Randy. Shout out to them if they're listening. And he was giving some sauce, like some real knowledge. And I know that probably took time to acquire, but I was just blown away. I was like, holy crap, this guy's giving some real stuff that can be applicable. And most people are sleeping on it. You know what I mean? That's how it is. That's how it is. But before we do that, can you give me a little bit of what it was like for you as a child? Because most people don't have entrepreneurial, backgrounds, and then they have to figure things out, right?
That's right.
But what did you do as a child? What were some tall tale signs that you saw growing up that you knew you were going to be an entrepreneur?
Well, first of all, that's actually a really good question. I like to focus on the root of childhood, because when you really study successful people, I would say at least 98% of them don't come from success or weren't exposed to success, more so, poverty and hard times,
right?
Because you got to have that burning flame. But I'm not from America. I moved here when I was 3. And what's funny is I was supposed to come on a 1-week vacation, and I never went back to Germany, nor seen or met my mother for 30 years. I just met her a year ago.
No way.
So my dad was in the military. My entire family has a military background. Got to the U.S. I only spoke German, my sister and I. And he built a home. He got all of his kids under one roof, which I admire, in South Haven, Michigan, little town in Michigan. It's actually the blueberry capital of the world.
What? Yeah. That's crazy.
So this town probably has maybe 7,000 to 10,000 people. It's all the same last names. My grandmother was in the education system for 30, 40 years. My grandpa drove to Chicago every day and worked for Penske Automotive.
Okay.
And my father, he was more so of a mechanic, machine supervisor, things like that. And the tradition in my family was go to school, get good grades, and after that, go to the military, find a good job, retire with a 401k.
I see.
And as a child, I just watched. I like to study people. I love studying people. And it's very simple. You watch somebody pursue something over and over for 10, 15, 20 years. Then you look at the outcome, and then you can make a decision like, is that the type of life I want? I was speaking to a friend the other day, and I was like, I don't listen to people unless you're living the life that I want, right?
Agreed.
I'm not going to listen to a relationship coach unless she or he has had a healthy relationship for over 20, 30 years, right? So with that being said, grew up in South Haven, Michigan from 3 to 10. And then just like many, divorce happens. My pops, divorced my stepmom, and 4 of my siblings stayed behind in Michigan, and me and my father took off. From there, we moved to Ohio for a year, Rhode Island for a year, and then planted our roots in Atlanta.
That's a military life, right? You guys got
Yeah. So moved a lot, and then finally found my footing when I was about 12, 11, 12 in Atlanta. And things weren't good at home. Actually, he was having recruiters come to the house to recruit me right before war, all this other crazy stuff. And I ran away. I literally ran away and moved in with my auntie who lived in the South Side, College Park. Shout out College Park, Georgia. The hood for real. So this was like, at 11, 12 was my first time really being exposed to the hood. I went to an all-black high school, all-black college. College Park is the South Side, it's the slums. And through that, I made friends with all the boys on my street. At the time, my auntie and my cousin knew nobody. It's a street called Surrey Trail, right when you get off the I-285 off Old National. If you're from Georgia, you know what I'm talking about. You know what I'm talking about, yeah. And made friends with all the boys on the street, and we created this little group. It wasn't a gang. It was a group called STP, Surrey Trail Projects.
Okay.
So now I'm exposed to the hood. And I'm not going to lie, like, I was loving it. You're 12, 13, like, you're seeing all the stuff go on. And, from there, what I seen was, drug dealers and pimps. Right. And, in a way, I wanted what they had. Mm-hmm. I wanted what they had. So, but I was always smart in school, always had, straight A's, B's. I was an all-state football player, all-state wrestler. I could have went D1 wrestling, and I actually went to Albany State University on a Hope Scholarship, educational scholarship, and ROTC scholarships.
Yeah, you got business admin.
Yeah,
right.
That's right.
Gotcha.
Yep. So got to Albany State, and I had 2 suitcases. My grandmother and auntie helped me apply and get the scholarships, and I had like $5 in my pocket. And they're like, all right, this is it. You're on your own. I'm 18.
Okay.
So get to the dorms, Andrews Hall. I remember I bought some fresh Air Force Ones. This is when everybody had the fresh whites or the fresh blacks, the Jabots, the long white tees. Some people listening, y'all might not know because I'm about to be 37. But yeah, this was the era. And they said you're on your own. At that time, I knew how to cut hair.
Okay.
I was really good at cutting hair. So I realized, on scholarships, you only get like 2 meals a day at the cafeteria. And once you're done with dinner after 4 o'clock, you need money to eat. Right. So I actually started playing Madden in the dorms and cutting hair for money, $5 a head. And back then, there was a group called the Heisman Boys. They got signed by I forget. But they got signed, and they made their first music video in that dorm, Andrews Hall. And I used to cut their hair and run them for Madden, $20 a game. At Albany State. So yeah, that happened, went through school, all that good stuff, was on an ROTC scholarship. I was ranked top 100 cadets in the nation. Getting ready, I just jumped out of airplanes at Fort Benning Airborne School. I ran the fastest 2-mile at that university, and I'm like a year and a half away from graduating, and I thought my career path was, I was going to be a sniper in the military.
Right.
Going to war, going to go get my stripes, going to be a sniper. And one day I'll be like a colonel or something. I thought that's what I wanted to do. Because here's my viewpoint about the military. I see all my cousins, everyone go in. I'm an all the way in or all the way out type guy, right? There is no gray area with me, and it can work for me or against me, right? Yeah. So I said, if I'm going to do the military thing, I want to do everything and see everything it has to offer, but I don't want a desk job because I could just get a degree and go get a desk job, right? So believe it or not, my first semester of my junior year, I got indicted by the feds.
What?
Yep. So I get done with airborne school. I'll take you back a little bit. I complete airborne school, one of the first cadets at Albany State to complete airborne school as a cadet. And I had this good job. See, Albany is the home of Goody Mob. There's only a Walmart in that town. Like, it's a small black country-ass town, right? Okay. Shout out to Albany, Georgia. And there was this one job you had to test in to get. And this was back when T-Mobile had the sidekicks, right?
I had one of those.
So the first 3 times I failed the job. And the last time, like, my roommate gave me all the answers, I put it on my sidekick, and I'm taking the test with the sidekick on my lap, and I passed. And it was paying real good, and I wasn't performing like I needed to. It was like internet services over the phone, like when you call Cox.
Right.
And I knew they were trying to figure out a way to let me go. Well, here we go. I got to go on military leave, and legally they can't fire you because of military duty, right? Go to airborne school, come back, and like a day or two later, they let me go, and I call grandma. Grandma, my rent's $400, bro. Grandma, my rent's $400. I need some help. I'm about to get evicted. And the way my family works is they're stingy. You know what I'm saying? They got it, but they're stingy, right? And she was like, go to the school, get some help. Well, to make a long story short, I met a guy at a fish market. He just got out of prison doing 20-something years pushing counterfeit money, making counterfeit money. Dude gives me 10 bands of counterfeit money and tells me to get it off. I got it off. I got my rent money, right?
Yeah.
And then I think I got addicted to the hustle. That's really what happened. I got addicted to the hustle because I'm a broke-ass college student, right? Literally driving my car on E. I had like a 1991 Chrysler LeBaron drop top, right? And me and my roommate smoking Black & Miles over the summer with ramen noodle. Like, that's the college life, especially in Atlanta. When you talk about, Morehouse, Clark, Atlanta, a lot of HBCUs, it looks cool on the outside, but on the inside, it's really like the projects, right? Like it's the slums. So that's what happened. I got addicted to the hustle, and, I ran it up for like 60 days, made the most money. I bought everything I ever wanted to buy, and I was getting real money back. Right. Not going to get into the details. I'm outside of the statute of limitations on that case. This was 2009. So then he goes, all right, young buck, you want to know how to make it? It's time to let you on your own, right? And he taught me how to make it. And one thing about me is I'm a lone wolf. I do everything by myself. So I was dating a girl in Tallahassee, Florida, and here goes my engineer mind. I start creating routes, like I knew where to be at what time. I had a process to wash the money or clean the money, wash the money, dry it, and then I hit my route, right? All the way to Tallahassee, just stopping, $20 in the tank. Here's $100. $20 in the tank. Crazy. Flea markets. This was back when the polo boots first came out, right? I remember my first time buying those polo boots. That was the first time in my life that, I got something new when it came out, because I always had hand-me-down clothes from my brother, and it was rough growing up financially, Right. So, make a long story short, I was done, bro. Like, I did what I had to do in like 2 months with him, 2 months with myself. I was loaded. I was living in a 3-bedroom apartment with some ROTC roommates. I was living a double life. I was working in the library, ROTC, popular, pre-pledge into Kappa Alpha Psi. Nobody knew I was doing this.
Oh, you didn't just like go soft on this side. You went hard on this side and hard on that side.
Yes. Nobody knew.
Wow.
Nobody, because I did everything by myself.
Right. How stressful is that life?
Well, see, I was 19, 20 at the time. It wasn't stressful at all. It was fun. Because you know what? And I'll talk about this later. At the time, and I learned this, ignorance of the law is no bliss. I didn't realize what I was doing. I didn't realize that what I was doing was federal. Right. And what I was doing was at the magnitude I was doing it with, because the state of Georgia tried to label me a kingpin at 20. That's how big it got. Dang. So I'm done. So it was fun because I'm in an Impala on 22s. I got my polo boots. I got all new clothes. Like, my safe is stacked up. I said I got a year left of college. Right. All I got to do is get to air assault school next summer, and then there's something called like officer evaluation in Fort Lewis, Washington. Then you find out what MOS you're gonna get, and then you graduate and you're off to officer candidate school, BOLIC. And I was done. So here we go. My best friend. I'm not even gonna say his name. At that time, I get a call, Timo, I'm broke. This is a guy I starved with, right? I'm broke, boom, boom, boom. Can you help me? I say, yeah, I could help you. I'll help you out. I'll show you how to do it, but here are the rules. And I gave him the rules. You got to get out of town. You don't shit where you sleep at, boom, boom, boom. And he does it, and he gets caught the first day. That's why he got caught.
Oh, no.
Well, instead of him going in, they said, who's the guy? He said I was the guy.
Yeah.
So the way they got me was that run that he set me up on, right? So anyways, I do the run with him, and I remember I signed for a 3-bedroom condo. I just bought a Blue Nose Pit. I'm about to chill my last year in college, living like a king. Right. And I called some people to come wash the walls, and I had a big party at my apartment that day for the NCAA championship. I had everybody from Valdosta State, Fort Valley State, my college, like every HBCU. It was 30 people in that apartment, right? Wow. So you got 30 people in an apartment laid out,
right,
drunk. And I'm the first one that hears the knock, knock, knock. And I'm like, cool, they're here to watch the wall. So I looked to the people, and it was Homeland Security.
Dang.
It was Homeland Security.
I mean, they had to do it at the party? Like, dang.
So, yeah,
man.
that happened. And, you know, I don't think I've ever gotten in depth for this much detail on this story. You know, there's a lot of people that know I have a past. And, you know, I'm not ashamed to talk about it because that's really what made me. Like, all that adversity.
I was just about to say, right,
and, you know, like I said earlier, I didn't have a mother figure, right? And my dad was always traveling overseas at different jobs, you know, during this time, would never come home, all that stuff. So from 12 all the way up until now, I've had to, 12 years old, you're talking, I was a little boy.
Yeah.
I had to navigate life on my own from what I really seen in College Park, which was nothing positive.
Right.
I was in this positive environment in college, you know, but when you're like in survival mode and you know what it's like for your ribs to touch your back, oftentimes there's nothing that you won't do when that opportunity pops up, you know, especially when you're that young, you're not even conscious enough to know what life really is.
Yeah, well, what was supposed to be just a small stint, it was just supposed to help just a little bit.
Yeah.
Ended up being this. And I've watched plenty of YouTube videos about like this, washing the money. And it always ends up being the guy that you want to help out and where you're at. Cool story. First off, there's a lot to unpack.
Yeah.
Secondly, amazing like that you're willing to talk about it and then use it for good, right?
Yeah.
And that's how it should be. So take me a little bit back to 12 years old. You're moving around, you're going around, right? And you're 12. And a 12-year-old Timo's kind of maybe feeling lost from what it sounds like. Doesn't know what he wants to do. Doesn't know who he is. Mom's not there. Moving around, I hear too many times military families, kids just don't have connection with people. They have friends, they move on to the next place, right? So now you probably feel alone, right? So really your circle of friends makes you who you really are.
Correct.
So when you got into that world in college, it wasn't like, oh, I should stay away from this. You were just looking for family. You were just looking for friends. You wanted to feel a part of something.
Correct.
And that's how it always starts. It's like this innocent feeling, right?
That's right.
So take me back to the days when you started hanging around the people, right? And maybe you knew they were bad or good, but you knew that you like, holy crap, like maybe this isn't good, but the family and friendships there, right?
Yeah.
What's that tug? Like, how do you battle that feeling? Like, how did you give up they're doing bad for the family and friends? Like, give me some of that.
All right. So yeah, you're dead on with it too. You know, a lot of it is, you know, the need to feel accepted, right? Like when you feel like you don't, because in how Georgia is, you know, my kind of people are racist against each other. You're either, it's fucked up, but you're either dark skin, light skin. And if you're a light skin, you're a white boy. And if you're too black, you're this, you know what I'm saying? That's just how it is in Atlanta because it's majority African Americans, right? So how does racism exist? Is dark skin, light skin. That roots back to the slavery days of house or outside ninja, right? So with that being said, it was, you know, needing to be validated and accepted, needing to feel like I wanted to be a part of something, no matter if it was right or not. And, you know, through that, it was almost like a brotherhood formed, you know, like all the guys from my street, we formed a brotherhood that was stronger than any connection I felt with family. Like that's when family really started to become strangers, right?
I see.
Now, once you've seen enough, and I believe go through enough pain, I just remembered there was a point, you know, I was locked up and I said, God, if you just let me out this one situation, I promise you, I'll change my life around. So it was a few things. It was facing a 15-year sentence, you know, at 20 years old, and God allowing me to make it out of that. B, I actually see her tomorrow. Shout out to my daughter, Anaya. She's 13.
That's awesome.
She cheers tomorrow in Palm Springs. She's on the national cheer comp. So having Anaya was the first time I felt love.
Wow.
That was the first time I felt love.
That's
so
moving.
when my little baby was born, like for the first time, I felt like I had something to live for.
Purpose.
Purpose. Because oftentimes, you know, if you don't love yourself, like I didn't in those days, why did I risk my time or my life so easy?
I see.
Right.
Yeah. So you're like navigating through life from 12 to 19 and it just so happenstance, right?
Yeah.
And maybe you didn't have the parental guidance that you needed, right?
Yeah.
So who's to blame here? It's the stories happen all the time, but what really matters is what happens after the fact, right?
Yep.
Who do you become when the hard times happen, right? But before I do that, I wanted to read a post that you had on your Instagram, and it kind of gives me an idea of who you are, and you really are a leader to people, and maybe you don't feel that way, but people probably look at you as a leader. You went through hell, whether it was your fault or not, right? So this post says, you're witnessing a man that was left to dry at a young age. No family support, no good role models. All I knew was hustle to survive. It's like being thrown in the jungle naked. And then you said, full of lions, tigers, and bears, I failed over a decade, and each failure has taught me lifelong lessons. But through it all, I kept going, right? And I think that kind of sums up 12 years old to now, right? And some of the success you're having now. But what kind of, is this your story? Is this your banner? Is this what you wear in your chest,
Yeah, I think more so when people think of me and what my true message is that, I've just failed a lot longer than most people. I've taken, more deadly risks than most people, right? But a lot of times when one faces adversity, they think that resistance is telling them, oh, it's a little uncomfortable, it's a little painful, it hurts, I'm going to stop here. And it's like Eric Thomas says, why the hell would you stop while you're in the fire? You got to keep going to make it on the other side of the fire. So it's to inspire people that doesn't have the family support or structure. Because I went to 4 different high schools. I had NFL dreams. Me and my brother, I believe, both could have been in the NFL. It's cool because I work with NFL athletes now, right? Cool. But not having that family support system, just having that strong faith within self, and not stopping when you fail, like if you never quit, you can't fail, is the real message. We're humans, right? We're very powerful creatures, and I feel like oftentimes we limit ourselves.
Yeah. When did that switch happen for you? When did the confidence turn on?
When I got out of jail.
Okay.
Yeah, when I got out of that case and I was free, because I had never caught a misdemeanor before that. Nothing. I have never seen
speeding ticket?
Nothing.
Wow.
Nothing. Like I went straight from nothing to federal.
Right.
That and Anaya being born, feeling that love, and it's like, damn, like I got a baby now, like I have somebody to live for. I went crazy after that. And that fire, it's the 3 Ds. It's your drive, desire, and determination. That I tell everybody I hire, sales, ops, it doesn't matter. I can't teach you that.
Right. That's true.
Can't teach you that. Agree. You got to have it in you.
I totally agree. So then take me back, you not having your mom, a nurturer. Right.
Oh yeah.
And then always guessing what could have been, right, and gnawing at you every single day. How much of a role did your father play with your mom not there, and how are you dealing with that today?
Yeah. So what's funny is my sister and I, we were told a completely different story up until I was about like 15. So we believed the whole time that our mom didn't want us, and all this other stuff. And my dad didn't fill that gap. At an early age, he took his first good paying job. He was in Spain, Japan. He would come home once a month. And I was out to be raised by my stepmom. And before me and my dad left Michigan, I was actually living with football coaches and already not coming home because of what was going on at home. Gotcha. But I do have a very strong and powerful God-fearing grandmother that played that mother role.
That's awesome.
And her and my grandfather, because they owned 40 acres next door, had a very vital role in my upbringing. But, it's different when, you're dealing with old people, right? When you're young, it's like, man, I'm not trying to hear that shit, right? But now I understand why they taught me a lot of things when I was growing up. But not having that mother figure, not having that nurturing spirit growing up, what I think that did for me is when I went to finance school and got my first finance job with Berkshire Hathaway, you had to take a Wonderlic test. And that's the test NFL athletes take at the combine, so they can like psychologically break you down and see what moves you. And one area that was never filled for me was empathy. And that comes from not having that, motherly nurture. So a lot of people, I know I have a good heart. I'm a good guy from what people say, but I'm also a cold piece. You know what I'm saying? Because when you don't have that nurturing spirit and then you've seen as much as I've seen, eventually, like emotionally, you become numb. Right?
Right.
So, I've been on an extensive healing journey since I was 25. And actually for my 33rd birthday, I did an ayahuasca retreat.
Okay. I've heard of this before.
Plant medicine.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm the guy that wakes up at 5 a.m. I meditate, cold shower, journal, do all that stuff. Did an ayahuasca retreat, and it's taken, over 10 years, healing that abandonment wound, and, meeting my mother last Easter did a lot for me as well. For her to see my 2 toddlers. I have a 3-year-old junior and a 2-year-old. She's about to be 2 on Valentine's Day, my little Willow. So going through all that, I got a lot of answers to my questions, but what happened after ayahuasca is, for the first time, I think I was okay and content with never seeing her or meeting her ever.
Oh, so you did it before you met her?
Before I met her.
God.
Yeah. So for the first time, I felt like my abandonment wound was healed, and I was really content with never seeing or meeting her,
Right.
But what that taught me is, it just taught me so much where I'm the father that I am today, because I'm 85% primary parent over my 3 and 2-year-old. I've been in my 13-year-old's life her entire life. But now we co-parent out of, state to state, which is a little difficult. But what it did for me is teach me what type of parent not to be.
Right.
And sometimes that's the greatest lesson.
Yeah. I'm curious though, what was the real story about your mom? Because you said you heard 2 different stories.
Oh, my dad stole us. He kidnapped us. He would have, if it was today, he would have been in jail. Yeah. So he convinced her to buy flights and, allow us to meet him. We were supposed to go back a week later, and him and my grandmother, big in the little South Haven town, our last name is Big. My grandmother owned a church as well, got all the people together, coached us to say we wanted to live with our dad, never picked up the phone for my mom. My auntie actually wrote my mom a letter saying they were doing this. And I just remember just being coached, when we go to court, you better say you want to live with me. When we go to, all that stuff. Wow. And I remember court, I was 3, I was wearing this little airplane sweater. And I remember the last hug my mother gave me.
Oh my gosh.
And our whole life, it was, she didn't want you. She gave you away. Well, my grandpa at 15 was like, son, come here. I got something I got to tell you. And I'm like, what's up, Grandpa? He was like, I just want to let you know, everything you've been told your whole life is a lie. This is what happened. And he told me, and he was like, if you remember that day, I was never in court because I wasn't for what your grandmother and your father was doing. And then I think that was more painful than believing she didn't want us. You get what I'm saying? So now me and my sister have the truth. And when I really break down my life story, as I think of the trouble I got into, I think I was I was self-sabotaging all the success and good things I was doing out of the pain of what I went through.
You have this internal struggle. There's this storm inside of you at 15. Yeah. I believed all this, and then my dad this, and this all coming true. I understand, and how can someone actually deal with that, right? There are unfortunately multiple ways people deal with pain, and some were not good, and some were good, right? And you're just processing that, right? And it's unfortunate, but a lot of successful entrepreneurs end up having a past, right? Having the struggle, which drives them, So I'm glad you kind of worked through that in life, and there's a lot to unpack. Your story, I met with a few people. Some of the stories are a little bit quieter, and they're just kind of to the point. And they have their climaxes, they have their valleys, and it all kind of, I can think of it. But you have all of this. You're successful NJROTC, and then you went into football. You could have been successful in so many places. And it's very intriguing to see this consistency within you. Whether you're going against the law, you're consistent with it, right? You were all in with it. So what is that drive? Is that, is it still based out of trying to figure yourself out, figure your life out, or is this drive more motivation and positive now?
Oh yeah, the drive now it's all motivation and positive, simply because, having children, I'm breaking the narrative of my storyline. I'm building an empire kingdom. I'm building generational wealth.
That's awesome.
I'm generational curse breaking right now. So it's not even about the money no more. I made my first mill 6 years ago, right? it's not even about that no more. It's like the fact that, my son's birthday was on the 22nd. When he wakes up, I got 10 people on Zoom, part of one of the companies, singing her happy birthday to him, right?
Awesome.
That he gets to see things that aren't average or normal. So I'm already programming him at a young age, Like my biggest goal is, to leave a portfolio behind for my children in trust, and to have cash flowing businesses that they can start off at the bottom at, work their way up to the executive ladder and become owner of. Wow. Even though it's my company, like right. I'm not just going to give them anything, right?
Right, yeah.
So the reason why is because I didn't have options.
Right.
I think if I would have had real options to choose from, my life would have turned out different. But it was like, remember that day dropped off at college. All right, man, you're on your own. And I want my kids to say, okay, if I want to go to school, it's paid for. If I want to own one of the companies one day, I got to start here, right? If I want to go to the NFL, I have the support system to do so, where in my family, it's no longer get good grades, go to the military, retire with a 401k. Where's everybody's 401ks at now in a recession? The market controls that.
Yeah. So what would you say to the Timos that are 12, 13-year-olds listening to this now? The guys that are looking and Lord willing, one day they come across this podcast at the age that they need to and they listen to you, right?
Yeah.
What can you say to those lost boys, lost girls?
The first thing I would say is what comes fast don't last, and what comes slow is for show.
I like that. That's good.
That's the first thing, Secondly, I would tell those little boys and little girls that, whatever you dream, you can achieve. There's more than enough nowadays with technology, resources, True. And people are more accessible now, where you can get the help that you need. And now with like Instagram and TikTok, you don't need that mentor in your hood to see where you want to go. You can get on the internet and see people, okay, and they're telling you how they're doing it through podcasts like yours, right? Through reels and stuff like that. So I would tell them to continue to keep themselves exposed to people that they want to be like, because it's easy to find the information now. Definitely understand credit and taxes. Definitely understand credit, understand taxes. And no matter what your background is, the beautiful part about life is you can recreate yourself time and time again. I went from this unwanted, self-sabotaging, little boy with 8 felonies, everyone called me a criminal, to a top producing car salesman, to then a top producing finance manager, to then starting my first company in 2019 that blew up. Then I became a CEO, right? Then I built a funding company. Now I'm part owner of a solar company with my funding company, right? So all these, for the different outcome, you have to recreate yourself and work on yourself internally, right?
Yeah.
So if you're going through, hardships in life, if you don't have the family support system, et cetera, it really starts internally. What can I do myself to recreate myself? And that's meditation, that's journaling, that's eating clean, that's being disciplined, But stay out the streets, number one, because if I wouldn't have taken those steps, I always ask myself, how much further would I be? But I never second guess God's plan for myself. So, stay out the streets, make sure you find high value people that you emulate to duplicate that outcome, and don't be afraid to ask for help.
Yeah. And I love that you brought up social media. There's pros and cons to it, but like Eric Thomas, like in 2020, I was going through it a lot, and he helped me, like his videos, like listening to him all the time. Right.
Yeah.
And if you had that 15, 16 years old, you'd be set, right? You would have a role model to look at. So that's great advice. I have timelines here, and I just want to walk us up to the present.
Okay.
All right. So your pedigree is huge. Like, you got a lot going on, but you fall into sales after your bachelor's in business administration. You were in sales prior to that, right? But in not a good way.
Right.
So you get into assistant sales manager in 2016 and 2018, and then a finance manager at Peoria. So tell me a little bit about that. What was that journey like, coming into sales? Now you're making like money the right way, right?
Yeah.
How was that feeling?
Yeah, so actually, to take it back a little bit further, so after my whole federal case was over with, I moved to the Bay Area because that's where my dad moved.
Okay.
And, he promised me and my brother some things that just didn't manifest. So I apply online to this business opportunity in Antioch, California. It's in the Bay Area. and it's a company called Centura Creations. You ever see the people selling perfume in the parking lots like years ago?
Yeah.
That's what it was. So they're like, we're going to teach you how to open up your own business. You're going to go through sales, then you're going to go through team lead, learn how to manage people, then do the administrative work, and then all the money we save from you from your sales, we're going to open you up in your own branch. Wow. So I have 8 felonies on my record. I can't get a job, right? True. And my dad sold me and my brother a dream, and I'm like, 6 months out at this point, and I apply, they start me, and I go through this sales training program. I'm in the street 7 days a week selling perfume and cologne. Right? So it took about 11 months, and they were like, we want to open in Phoenix. We have no offices out there. Who wants to go? And I said, I'm done with training. I'm ready to go. So I came out here with a U-Haul, 2 business partners, 14 cases of cologne and perfume. We got our first office, that big brown building off 27th Ave in Indian School, 3001 West Indian School Road, right off the I-17. We got our first office. And then one of my business partners, we had to let him go because he was on some weird stuff. And then my second business partner ended up getting pregnant. But in 2 to 3 short years, I actually opened up 4 branches out here by the time I was 23. Wow. And we were doing 500 units a week. Our contractors had to turn in $20 a bottle. So I was doing 400K at 21, 22 years old with like 60 people working for me.
Perfume?
Yeah, cologne? Perfume and cologne. And we'd go to Vegas, Tucson, Albuquerque, Winslow. We'd be in San Diego. The cool part is that all we needed was the product. We could drive anywhere. Wow. We pop out in parking lots. Hey, you like to smell good, right? Yeah, let me see your wrist. That's Jean Paul. Thing about John Paul, I still know the pitch, right? Yeah. So really, I got all my real legit business experience at 22. Shout out to Mike and Kat investing in me and showing me how to build a business from the ground up. And then I got messed over by my business partner. She stole all the money, was sleeping with all the guys. And it was like my 4th year, and they saved a credit line for you. I had like 30 grand in a credit line. It's like middle of summer in AZ. I got 3 offices open. And my shit's just crumbling because she was stealing everything. Like, she was MIA for 11 days. I'm watching the bank. I'm like, what is going on? So I call my regional manager and I'm like, Evan, I think I'm going to tap out because I was tired of working 7 days a week. Right. Most people bitch about 5 days a week, 40 hours a week. Right. We're, we're 8 to 5 in the field, and then we're nighttime merching, which you're not going home until you hit your number. Right? Jeez. And if you didn't hit it through the day, you had to work at night. Right. So when you're first building it, you have to be out there with your people. Right, I wasn't in the office. Yeah. So then that crumbles. I pull out the 30K, and I lived like just free for a whole year. I was tired of working, right? So that 30K lasted me. And then I ran out of money, was missing my daughter in California. I said, I want to move back to the Bay. So then I got into car sales. Shout out to James Lorca. He was the general manager of Paul Blanco's Good Car Company in Oakland. They had a few dealerships throughout California. They got closed down, and he answered my job ad. He's this old white dude from Texas. He's like, son, I normally don't hire people without at least 2 years of sales experience, but it's something in you. And he took, and I feel like this is God really just looking out for me, like all these opportunities that popped up after my mess, right? So he takes me in, and they're like, Timo, you got to wait like a month before you could start talking to customers. But the way this dealership operated, they worked off an up system. So it's a machine inside, and it's appointments, right? So appointments will walk in, then the car salesman will help them. Yeah. So if you just pulled up and started walking the parking lot, nobody would go out to help you. Yeah. So they told me I couldn't talk to customers, and I started running outside to grab customers, and I sold 7 cars my first 7 days. And my first month, I made $6,000. Let me give you a little context. For that job, my brother had to buy me 1 suit from Goodwill and loan me about $150 for my Metro phone to keep it on. I said, bro, if I just have 1 suit and my phone on, I'm going to kill it. Yeah. And that's what I did. So I made $6,000. And I remember that was my first time opening up a legal bank account and depositing a real check into my bank account. And it started in Oakland. Then I moved to Phoenix with the Larry Miller Group. I was sales. I was a sales manager. Randy actually was on my team. Tino was back in finance. Tino made his $1 million off Bitcoin. Then I got recruited by Berkshire Hathaway. Shout out to Naomi. I was going through some things. One thing about me is I don't do politics. That was my biggest war in corporate. Is like, I'm a very good producer and I can build amazing sales teams, but I don't like to be micromanaged or play the good old boy game. I don't do that. So politically, there was things going on at the dealership with me wanting a position that I wasn't getting when I knew I more than earned it.
Right.
So I got recruited by Berkshire Hathaway, and they gave me my first finance opportunity over there at Peoria Nissan.
Wow.
Now, this whole time since I started at that car dealership in Oakland, it was a subprime credit store where they pitched a fresh start program, build your credit through financing an auto. I didn't know anything about credit.
Right.
My best friend Roger had a Infiniti, an Audi, a BM. I'm like, bro, how do you get these cars? He's like, I got a 750. I didn't know what a 750 was. He was talking about his credit score. And I'm like, what's a credit score? This is 2012, 2013. And he shows me, I'm like, and I check mine, I'm a 480. I'm like, so how do I? And he goes, all right, we're going to get secured credit cards. Well, what I did was I started reading the Fair Credit Reporting Act. And then I found a guy with templates for $50. I sent it out, and child support got deleted off my credit on that first round. And I said, whoa, this stuff is real. Like, this credit disputing stuff is real. So I took my time really understanding, Title 15 of U.S. Code.
You didn't take no course. You learned this yourself.
No, I read. Yeah, I'm self-taught in a lot of things. I love to read. And then I test it. After I read it, I test it.
Right.
And if something doesn't work, then I optimize it to work, right?
Right.
So I did it for myself. And originally, I was offering it as a free service to help me build my book of business in the dealership, so I didn't have to rely on dealership traffic all the time. I was always thinking like that. How can I outdo you? Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like, these guys aren't on social media, right? These guys aren't generating traffic. Like, I'm going to do that, though. And that's what got me recruited by Berkshire Hathaway is the exposure on LinkedIn. I would show my team, I would market the cars, I would, promote the dealership. And, a lot of people really underestimate the power of social media.
Yeah, you're self-branding without realizing it.
Bingo.
Yeah.
Yeah, so all that happened, and I had great times in corporate, to be honest with you. I mean, we worked like slaves, 60, 80-hour weeks. I always made six figures, $180,000 a year. It allowed me to, for real, I wouldn't have blew up my first year in business if I didn't put the 6-7 years into corporate, because like my first 300-400 clients came from the dealerships.
Oh.
So, when people talk down upon having jobs, I think completely different, because you can monetize that job and literally build a book of business and have a cash flowing business if you really do it right, right? And you can also learn a lot of skill sets at your job via sales, right? Via finance, because all these things are needed in business regardless.
Agreed.
So yeah, all that happened. I had great times. I probably formed the best friendships in corporate America. We worked a lot. We made good money, had no time for family. And I just remember one summer I was co-parenting, so Anaya would come on the summers, but I'd be at the dealership, and my ex-girlfriend used to watch her, right? And I just said, man, tired of the politics.
Right.
Tired of these hours.
Yeah.
I said, all it takes is my manager pissing me off one more time. I'm out this month. And he did. I'm out. Yeah. And at the time, ASAP Credit Solutions was doing $4,000 a month. So I said, well, those were my bills. I said, hey, at least I could pay my bills. And yeah, from there, God took the wheel, and we did 1.5 million the first year in business.
Holy moly!
Yep.
You're what I get from you are a few things. I'm gonna say something to that too. Fast and furious.
Yeah.
You're fast and furious, dude.
Yeah.
Like you, and then your memory is crazy. You're naming streets and highways like the back of your hand. You're naming people like you talked to them yesterday, right? What does this come from? Like, you have an engineer mind. I know you said that, but your photographic memory, like how did you get to this point? You said you read a lot.
And meditation, like I meditate since I was 25. That's 12 years now. Every single day, minimum 10 minutes. Wow. Minimum 10 minutes. So yeah, your mind's a muscle. We want to build our bodies, but the most powerful muscle is up here. Wow. So exercising that daily, when you meditate, when you pray, what you're doing is, you're communicating to the spiritual realm, but you're also getting downloads from above. Right. Number one. And then number two, when you're reading, it enhances your communication. It opens up your imagination, everything. Right. So,
you're actual someone I can say testimony to it, because I've met with a lot of people in my life. You're first person that can just off the fly remember, say things pretty easily. Right. And that's really a testimony to what you just said, how does that apply to business to you? Like, maybe people have their own jobs 9 to 5 and they can meditate, right? Mm-hmm. But how does this clarity help you in business?
Oh man, my funding consulting program right now that is doing crazy numbers. I remember, I started ASAP Funder in 2021, and I put $1 million of my own capital to build that company, $1 million.
Wow.
And the first 6 months, I lost so much money and it wasn't working. I almost went out of business, almost went bankrupt.
Wow.
And I was sitting in my office one day and I was looking at data and I said, okay, 92% of business owners that apply for funding aren't qualified. What if I build a consulting program to help them build, optimize, and set up the right way, then acquire funding? Because most of, so by having this clarity, I look at it like meditation. There's science behind it. If you put two brains together, one that meditates, one that doesn't, it just shows you different brain waves and a more open mindset that I feel like, you can receive the downloads, but it enhances your creativity as well, right?
I see.
So when you're eating bad food, when, I don't drink soda, I don't drink regular milk. I haven't drank regular milk in over 10 years. I don't drink soda. I don't eat junk food. I'm a 1 meal a day guy. I do intermittent fasting 16 hours a day. I do all that stuff like consistently, religiously, because business is a sport. And it's like when you open your pores up and your mindset up to receive those downloads, I pray for God to use my vessel to do his work. And that's all that's happening. This ain't me. It's from above. But you can't get that if you're not clean.
I like that. That's really powerful. Actually, that's really powerful. So ASAP Funders 2021, right? And then ASAP Credit.
I filed the LLC November 4, 2018. I went full time with ASAP Credit July of 2019 is when I quit corporate.
Okay. And somewhere in between here or up from then to now, you met Kevin Harrington.
Yeah.
So how did that come about? I saw him sign your book.
Yeah.
I like that guy. I watched him with Shark Tank a few times. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Oh, that was so amazing. So I get into business loan brokering at first, and there's shout out Phil Smith. Phil Smith, he's made the Inc. 5000 5 years in a row, the only one-man employee company to do that.
Wow.
Genius marketer.
That's crazy.
I get into his group, and he partnered with me to start fixing all his declines that wouldn't qualify for funding, and all of his brokers were using me for credit. So he throws this mastermind and he says, Kevin Harrington's going to be there. And there's another gentleman, Omar Periu. Omar, shout out to Omar, is the founder of LA Fitness. He was Arnold Schwarzenegger's personal trainer, and he sold his 300 locations at 30 years old to the Blackstone Group. Wow. And yeah, Omar, he's a big guy. So fly to Orlando, get to meet Kevin. We're in a living room. He's right here. I have pictures. You've seen the pictures. Yeah. We stay at the mansion for 4 days. So to be able to watch that caliber of success, somebody who I used to watch on TV, and then meet Omar as well, and then be right here and just to literally smoke a cigar, drink some whiskey with them, learn from them. And they're just so humble. They're so positive, but they're sharks too. They're sharks too.
They have to be. They have to be.
And that was a once in a lifetime experience, because these are, billion-dollar guys. They were actually talking to us about, how Kevin, took a shareholder position with the energy company Celsius. How they brought on Flow Rider. I don't know if you guys heard of that lawsuit. He got all this money because of Celsius. Yep. So yeah, just being in that environment, it's the best thing you could do because it's law of association. You're going to become the 5 people you hang around the most, right? And being in those type of environments, those are the environments that has also allowed me to open up my thinking, because I'm the type of guy is if you can do it, you're a man and you bleed red, I can do it too, if not better. Powerful. Right? Yeah, but sometimes I have to see it first before I...
Well, did you see yourself getting in a room with them? Was it self-belief to get there, or was it just holy crap, I'm just here?
Oh no, 1,000%. I knew I belonged in rooms like that. I see. Even when I was broke. Wow. I always knew I would be something. I would be somebody. I've always had that self-belief within self. Wow. And when you believe that much in yourself, you're actually going to have a lot more haters and doubters that's telling you no and you can't do something. You know. Right. So I knew I belonged in those rooms before I got into that room. But will I say that I believed I'd be in a room with Omar and Kevin that? No. Okay. Not at all.
Still some awestruck there.
Yeah, that was blurry. Yeah. But I knew I belonged in, 8, 9, 10 figure rooms.
Okay. I love that. We're gonna start rounding it off here, but there's one question in my mind. The timeline's a little bit off in my head. You got indicted, went to jail, but then at 23, 24, you started selling cologne. Mm-hmm. So instead of doing 15 years, you only did 2 or 3.
No, I didn't even do 2 or 3.
Tell me how that happened.
I did 10 months. So I got off on what's called, so this is how God works. So I had 2 cases running concurrently. I caught a case in Albany, and then 3 weeks later, the feds came and got me for Columbus, Georgia. So I had 2 federal cases running at the same time. They tied up concurrently. I only did 10 months because before they came and got me the first time in Albany, I bonded out.
Okay.
I was able to do Christmas with my family. My second day of my second semester of my junior year, I got picked up again. And this is how I knew I was done, because they put me in a red jumpsuit, shackles. They transported me 4 hours away. They wouldn't let me out because I was a risk to take flight, because I'm 4 hours away from Atlanta with an open federal case already, right?
Right.
So I sat for 10 months and I took a plea on a first offender program. This lady in Albany, I met her before I got locked up. She was creating this first offender program. And she goes, I'm creating this program because there's too many African-American boys sitting for like weed. They never hurt nobody, killed nobody, did nothing dangerous.
Right.
So I'm sitting in jail and she comes and visits me. And the program is done. And she's like, I'm going to talk to the DA because, once again, I never had a misdemeanor.
Right.
But I also didn't tell on myself.
Right.
That was the biggest thing.
Yeah.
So I took a plea. It was a double jeopardy program. It was 7 years on federal paperwork, meaning if I even jaywalked, I would do the max of 15 years.
Holy crap.
So federal probation.
Right.
It was 6 months house arrest.
Okay.
I had to pay back all the money they found.
Which was?
What they found was like 40, 50K. 40, 50,000.
Okay.
Yeah, because the one batch I did with my friend that time, I messed up. Instead of using different $50 bills with different serial numbers, I rushed it. I used one. So all the money we got off had one serial number, so it's easy to track to everywhere. They told me where I was at what time. You're at a McDonald's at this time, all that stuff. So anyways, had to pay all the money back. And then community service. We were on the chain gang with sheriffs on horses, with rifles, 5 days a week, 8 to 5. And you got these parole probation fees you got to pay. You can't get a job. That shit is a trap. Whoa. I felt suffocated. Like, you mean to tell me we're in parks cleaning up from 8 to 5 with these sheriffs on horses with rifles like slavery days, and I still got to pay $380 a month in probation fees. So really, I wasn't supposed to leave Georgia, just so you know. I skipped town. Yeah, I wasn't supposed to leave for 7 years.
Wow.
So my dad moves to the Bay Area. This is 2009, 2010. And he's like, son, if anything happens, I got you. I'll make you a manager of da-da-da. He sold us this dream. And I skipped town to the Bay, and that shit caught up to me when I got to Arizona with my first business. So the question was timelines.
Yeah. Like, so you got, how?
I only did 10 months and got out. So 7 years federal paperwork, 6 months house arrest. I did 6 months of community service, paid all the money back, and then they said it's a double jeopardy program. So if I do drugs, if I get caught with anything, I'm doing the max.
Wow.
It was called like a first offender program, but I took the plea. Now, before I took that plea, they did start off, they wanted 15 because they were trying to label me a kingpin.
Right. Yeah, I remember you saying that. Yeah.
I was not a kingpin. I was on the news. Whoa. I was not a kingpin. Let's make that shit clear. I was just doing me.
Yeah.
Number 2, they came at 7 years. And with federal time, you do like 80% or something. And my mindset was, because it was so bad where I was locked up at. It was bad. I almost died a few times. Like, when I first got in, I had to fight the first 30 days every day. And if I won, I would get jumped. And the COs would bet on the fights. Like, you had no protection, bro. Like, so my mindset was, like I told my attorney, I said, look, I'm going to go to trial and roll the dice on 15 before I do another day. Because I know if I have to go back in this thing, shit's going down. Yeah. I'm going to get the time anyways just being in here. Right. It was rough, bro.
That's crazy.
And that's when I just really got close to God. Yeah, fight, I remember getting in there and, like, you're like in this fucking dorm and you don't go outside, like, visitations on screens, but they had me locked up underneath the wrong name. They were telling people I wasn't even in there. For the first like 6 weeks, they were saying I was not in there. Like my case, they had me in red jumpsuit, shackled up. It was so high profile for some reason, and I couldn't figure it out. They had me locked up under Thomas Wilson. And then from there, they would pass the trays through a little slot, and it was only enough trays per inmate. So if a big boy wanted 2 plates, somebody wasn't eating.
Oh my God.
You know how many jaws I seen broke over a hot dog? My first fight was over a 25-cent oatmeal pie. I was really good at 21. We call it Tonkin, Georgia.
Okay.
And I knew when you get in, you don't gamble.
Yeah.
You don't gamble because that's what. But this dude wouldn't leave me alone. And I knew I was good at Tonk. And I thought I was getting out. I'm like, bro, I'm going to be out in a few days.
Yeah.
I got the money. My auntie coming. Like, I wasn't they wouldn't let me out. And I play him in Tonk. And right when I win, he's like, I ain't paying you shit. Boom, boom, boom. And then I win. Then they steal my sleeping mat. And then I get jumped for the first time. I'm on cement getting kicked the fuck in. And then I go to the hole for a few days, heal up. Right when I get back in, it's war. You know what I'm saying?
Jeez.
Yeah.
So you've been in survival mode for a long time.
Yeah, the COs didn't even have no pull in there. Like, especially, no offense to anybody, but Georgia is primarily black. Atlanta, Columbus, Georgia. If you were a white CO, they wouldn't lock a white boy up in with us. They wouldn't let a white CO in because something would happen to him. You know what I'm saying? But yeah,
that's crazy.
It was the wild, wild west, bro.
Yeah. Well, that clears up that timeline. Yeah. And, you've survived, but now you're thriving. And I love that. You're a good father, taking care of your kids. You want to build generational wealth. Like, you've turned it around for the good, and that's awesome. So was there, before I jump into this rapid fire round, is there, to the entrepreneur, the guy that's trying to make it, I'm working my health, I'm working my business, trying to get to where I want to be, right? What would you say to those guys just in the middle of the fight? Like, they're grinding, they're just trying to get there. What would you say to them?
Man, just keep going.
Yeah.
You have to keep going. See, the thing about the process is the process isn't beautiful. It's not a pretty thing. Most entrepreneurs that have made it, very few even show the process because it's not pretty. It's not marketable. It's very, very hard. But I live by a quote that says, if you do what is hard, life will be easy.
Oh my gosh, I love this guy.
And if you do what was easy, life will be hard.
Oh my gosh, I quote him all the time too. Not Jim Rohn. It's my gosh, I don't know who it is.
Oh,
I know the guy. Quote. I love the guy. I'll tell you who it is. I'll look him up. Yeah.
So it's just like the gym, right? Like, when I was having my kids 2 years ago, I was 235 pounds. I was overweight, right? Now I'm 185, the most fit I've ever been. But awesome. The process wasn't pretty or easy at the beginning. So you also got to have the belief, the blind faith. I don't feel like there's any single way a man or woman that is fully dialed in on the life they want and the process that it's going to take to get there, that believes within self, that goes more than 10,000 hours without hitting their end result. And if you don't quit, you can't fail. So when I started my first company, ASAP Credit Solutions, I was a finance manager doing $150, $180 a year.
Right.
Everyone laughed at me like, wait, you mean to tell me, because Berkshire Hathaway is big, right? It's like, you mean to tell me your finance job, your benefits, your insurance, you're going to go repair credit? If I would have listened to all those people, I wouldn't be sitting here today. I'd be a regular old Joe Schmo guy working 80 hours a week, still making 6 figures with no time for my family, just really unhealthy. I smoked a lot of cigarettes during that time, ate a lot of junk food, the whole nine, and it just wasn't healthy. But you got to believe so much within self that nobody can talk you out of your position.
Wow. And you just made that jump. It wasn't like a...
Nah, I went all the way in. Once I make the decision and it doesn't take me long to make, I go.
Okay.
Because success loves speed.
I've heard that before.
Success does love speed. I'm an energy guy. Like, I just know things with energy sometimes, how it feels, how it looks, what's about to happen. So, yeah, you have to go all in with no plan B. And guess what? When you put yourself in that position with a baby, with bills due, now you're in a position it's not so much I want it to happen, I have to make it happen. And when you have to make something happen, it's a different type of grind, because my first 6 months in business, I was doing marketing, sales, billing, dispute, case reviews. I was doing 10 people's job myself, still working more than I was in corporate. And that wasn't the plan. I didn't think it would be like that.
Right.
And it worked. So having that belief within self, having blind faith, just going all the way in with no plan B. But if you're transitioning from a job to entrepreneurship and you have babies relying on you, you got to be smart about it. You got to forecast, you got to plan, you got to have funding and capital because that's what businesses need to grow and to be profitable. You got to do it right. Like I tried to leave corporate 4 times to start my own business.
Oh, okay.
I failed the first 3. I actually have a late payment on my auto loan from 2016 from leaving corporate and had to go back. It was the 4th time it actually took off for me.
And why did you still take the 4th after failing 3 times?
Once again, it was that summer with Anaya, and I just remember looking at her and I said, well, once again, if nothing changes, nothing changes, right? Definition of insanity is doing the same thing, expecting different results. She was 7 years old at the time. And I said, well, if I continue down this path, she's going to be 18 and she's always going to remember daddy wasn't here.
Jeez.
She's just going to remember what I bought her, right?
Right.
And she fueled me. Yeah, wow. Anaya fueled me because this is when I only had Anaya.
How can I help you?
Yeah, no, sorry about that. Yeah, that's powerful because most people would have given up on the 2nd time, right, and not do it 4th, let alone the 4th time.
Yeah,
which says a lot.
Yeah,
I love that. All right, so where is Timo going to be 5 years from now? Where is he trying to go to?
Oh, 5 years from now, I'll have 5 years from now, I'm going to be on worldwide platforms, more so on a higher ticket, like consulting level, public speaking, published author. I always said when I'm 42 to 45, I want to be semi-retired and just do consulting and speaking and more so mentorship. I've built ASAP Credit Solutions. I've built ASAP Funder. We're growing our virtual solar sales company now. My plan is to exit these companies by that time besides ASAP Funder. Published author, worldwide speaking, high ticket consulting, but I want to build a healing retreat center offline. So my goal is in the next 12 to 24 months, I want to acquire 10 acres and I want to build my 7-figure home on one side, but I want to build a healing retreat center for men either coming out of prison or boys on their way to juvenile to come get healing, learn how to be better fathers. We'll do the yogas, the plant medicine. We're going to learn credit, finances. Wow. And then because majority of these men are going to be felons like I was, deploy them to my company to, start off at the bottom as maybe a funding specialist or something and start learning different skill sets
give
to
them opportunity
help
outside.
them out. Yeah. So,
amazing.
I always said by the time Anaya's 18, because I've had to co-parent out of state for the last 7 years, I really want to be able to just be there for her college journey and everything she wants to do in her adult years more so full time. Right. So yeah, semi-retired by 42, 45. I mean, my end goal is to, pass back $100 million worth of wealth before I leave this realm.
That's awesome. Yeah. I love that when I said, where are you going to be in 5 years? You said, I'll be doing this. It wasn't like, I hope to be. It's like for sure for you.
Yeah, for sure.
And that's like my biggest takeaway is like your belief in yourself in 5 years from now is it's set in stone.
Yeah.
It's not a facade. It's not a dream. It's where I'm going to be.
There you go.
That's really powerful. So I have a rapid fire round to end it off. Some questions I'm going to ask you. You don't have to think too much about it. I just want to see what comes from you. All right.
Yeah.
Are you a pizza or spaghetti guy?
Spaghetti.
All right. Coke or Pepsi?
I don't drink soda.
That's good. You're the first one to say that. All right. If you had to, if you remember what it tasted like.
It'd be Coke, yeah.
It'd be Coke. Okay. Are you a walk on the beach or an early hike guy?
Early hike.
Okay, I was about to say that's pretty easy. Would you take $1 million up front or would you do $15,000 a month for the rest of your life?
$15,000 a month, rest of life.
Weird. Okay. Why that? Why is that?
Yeah. I'm a recurring revenue type of guy. I don't like to start the months off at 0. So, you know what I'm saying? Right. So I don't care if it's 10K a month for my life, when when it's guaranteed.
Yeah.
Cool. Now, on the flip side, there's a lot I can do and I've already done with $1 million. But I think $15K a month for the rest of my life, I've never built something like that opposed making already millions of dollars.
I see. Okay. That makes sense. This one, football or basketball?
Football.
Okay, that's right. You went through football. That's right. Oh, curious about this one. Stocks or crypto?
Crypto.
Okay, you're like crypto.
And if Forex was a thing, I'm all the way Forex. Actually, I'm up 400 pips on the week. I've been trading. So my first time leaving corporate, I had an investor. It was me, this guy, and a Chinese investor. He gave us $15,000. Within 4 months, I turned that $15K to $80,000. And my partner withdrew our profits. I had already quit my job, and he went MIA.
What?
Yeah.
He took the money.
Yeah, so I've been trading since 2013 as well.
Okay.
Yeah, so if Forex was an option, Forex over both.
But Forex is such a there's a connotation, there's a bad rap around Forex. Because I come from Forex too. And while I trade prop firms and stuff like that, and there's always slippage and there's always these people using MT4 and then manipulating the prices to make it look like you're making all this money, right? You never were associated with any of that. You were just trading.
Yeah, I think the Forex marketers gave it a bad rap.
True,
you
you're
know,
right,
because like I enjoy trading Forex because it's a mental challenge. But at this point, I've been seeing the charts for over 10 years. I can look and just kind of know.
Right.
But yeah, the Forex marketers gave it a bad rep. Forex takes a lot of discipline.
Right.
A lot of patience, a lot of discipline. You know, you're really managing, and it's no matter if you have $100 account or 100,000. It's a portfolio, and you still got to stick to rules of not risking more than 1%, with which little to people don't follow, little to anybody
100%.
follow.
Yep.
Crypto, I'm a crypto guy, specifically XRP. I did make 60,000 in 21 off 1,500 off Shiba.
Dang.
Yeah, because I put a lot down on my house, and I used that 60,000 as a down payment as well.
Wow.
Because they asked about it. Where did all this lump sum come from in one day?
Yeah.
But I'm an XRP holder. I was an Ethereum holder. Grew a nice portfolio through that before we went into the bear market.
Right.
Never been a Bitcoin guy though.
Okay.
Never been a bit. It's
That's
always been
old money.
XRP, Ethereum.
Yeah. I feel that. Okay. Crypto, I can see that now. No stocks. No blue chip stocks, nothing like that.
For me, and a lot of people has asked me that the growth is too slow for me.
Really?
Yeah.
But you like the volatility of crypto.
Yeah.
Which kind of mirrors.
Well, with crypto, you have to understand, I bought XRP at 40 cents. Look where it's at now, $3, right? I think I'm more of I know timing. So XRP I bought at 40 cents. Ethereum I bought less than $1,000.
Wow.
Once again, Shiba 1,500 to 60K. Even my home, I have a 2.95% interest rate on my home. With me, I just know the timing of things.
I see. Yeah, and you're right. With stocks, you won't get that return. Even the S&P 500 is 15% a year.
Like if I want something to grow 10% a month, like I can do that in a week, right? I'm not into the 3, 5, 10% growth models a month. I like when I grow companies, it's normally like, especially at the beginning, 100% quarter over quarter.
Right.
And then it's still 15, 20, 25% a month, right?
Right.
I'd rather invest in my company and hire more people, scale up my marketing, and have a bigger return than 10%.
Makes sense. Agreed. Okay. This one, Lamborghini or Ferrari?
Let's go Lamborghini all day.
You're a Lamborghini
SVJ
guy.
specifically.
Okay. All right. You know, the crypto bros are usually on the Lamborghini side.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? So
yeah.
SVJ 100%, that's like at $1 million now.
Yeah.
Hard to find.
Yes.
Is that in the future?
Yes.
Or okay.
I have it in every single one of my rooms. You know, I almost bought a Huracan. Thank God I didn't 3 years ago. And
when
it didn't
was like popped up, the pricing was crazy.
Yeah, 3 years ago, actually right here at Ferrari in North Scottsdale, or no, it wasn't. It was a different shop. And I signed, went to go get the insurance, and they're like, we can't insure you from a ticket I had like 5 years ago going like 60 and a 25. And I think that was a sign from God because I cashed out for a Jeep Rubicon. We just had our son. And I was like, to pay $4,000 a month to sit in the driveway, I have another baby on the way right now. I can't get insured. Let me get a Jeep. And I camped all year. I'm an outdoors guy too,
cool,
you know?
Hiking. Yeah.
But yeah, if I wanted my kids in daycare, I'd have the Lambo right now. But the way my in-home nanny bill is set up, you know what I'm saying? We're going to wait a little bit.
Yeah. Say less. I'm sure that's a bill right there. Okay. I always am curious to see Ferraris like old money, type thing. And then Lamborghinis like that new crypto style. So last question would be, if you could have any superpower in the world, what would it be?
Man, that would be to heal people. It would be to heal people. I just feel like right now, a lot of people are in a bad condition, Like I've watched the change in people's mentals from when COVID first started to now, with the amount of like negative news and deaths and financial loss. Like I just feel like kind of like Europe went through the dark ages, like we've been through some dark ages, and it's drastically affected even just in my own inner circle, like people's mindset in general. So to be able to like heal people and, help them become happy and whole again. Because once again, I've been empty in dark places. And when you heal, although it's just a very grueling and painful process, I also know what it's like now to be in the light and to be whole and to love myself. Like, I think that's worth more than money.
Yeah, I agree. Your superpower, you already have it, and you're already healing people. So that's really powerful. Any last words to the listeners?
Man, I just want to say thank you for having me. I really hope today's message, my goal every time I open my mouth is just one person, right?
Yeah.
If this podcast changes one life, I did my job. Continue to have belief in yourself. Thank you for listening today. This podcast is going to go viral one day. I know it is. You're a great guy. And you guys can follow me on Instagram at Timo J Wilson, LinkedIn, Timo Wilson, Facebook, Timo Wilson, and follow my brand ASAP Funder Incorporated if you need any assistance getting funding.
Awesome. Thank you, Timo.
Thank you.
Appreciate it, man.
Appreciate it.